You ever meet someone who's lived in a new country for decades, but still sounds like they just arrived? Or maybe you moved somewhere new, tried to blend in, and no matter how hard you tried, people still picked up on your original accent. And then there are kids, who move at 5 years old and sound completely native within months. Why do some people hold on to their accents for life, while others seem to flip theirs like a switch? Today we're diving into the fascinating science and psychology behind accents, why we develop them, why they're so stubborn, and what they reveal about who we are. Let's dig in. What is an accent, really? Let's get one thing clear. Everyone has an accent. You do. I do. Even people who think they don't. An accent is simply the way your pronunciation reflects your linguistic environment, the sounds you've been exposed to and learned to reproduce. It includes things like vowel and consonant shifts, rhythm and intonation, word stress and sentence melody. It's why English sounds different in New York, London, Sydney, or Mumbai, even though the language is technically the same. So when people say someone has an accent, what they usually mean is, they don't sound like me. How accents are formed, and why childhood is key. From birth, your brain is flooded with sound. But here's the twist: babies are born with the ability to hear all the sounds of all human languages. That window starts closing rapidly around age 6 to 8 months, when your brain begins tuning out and use sounds and locking in on your native language. By the time you're 8 to 10 years old, your brain has largely cemented your phonological framework, the blueprint for how sounds are heard and reproduced. That's why children who move to a new country before puberty often pick up the local accent effortlessly, while adults struggle. The older you are, the more deeply those original speech patterns are wired into your brain's muscle memory. Your accent lives in your muscles. Here's a wild thought. Your accent isn't just in your brain, it's in your face. Different languages train your tongue, lips, jaw, vocal cords to move in specific, patterned ways. Think of it like muscle memory. You've spent years, maybe decades, building specific coordination for your native language. Now imagine trying to unlearn that and rewire everything. It's like a lifelong pianist suddenly trying to play left-handed. Not impossible, but incredibly hard. Why you think you sound native, but don't? Ever listen to a recording of yourself and think, wait, is that really how I sound? This is part of why accents are hard to lose. You don't hear yourself the way others do. When you speak, you hear your voice both through air conduction, like everyone else, and bone conduction inside your skull. That internal feedback loop makes your speech sound more natural and familiar to you, even if it sounds foreign to someone else. And because you think you're pronouncing things correctly, you don't always realize where you're going off script. The brain is biased toward what it knows. There's also something called the perceptual magnet effect. Your brain doesn't hear individual sounds in a vacuum. It categorizes them based on your native language, like sorting socks into drawers. So when you try to mimic a foreign sound, your brain may automatically translate it into the closest approximation in your native system. This unconscious filtering process can prevent you from even hearing the sound accurately in the first place. So how can you reproduce something you can't fully perceive? That's the uphill battle adult learners face. Identity, emotion, and the accent you can't shake. Here's where it gets even deeper. Your accent isn't just about speech. It's about identity. It reflects your culture, your history, your family, your roots. So even if someone consciously wants to change their accent to blend in, another part of them might resist, as a way of holding on to who they are. In fact, studies have shown that people often intentionally keep their accent in social settings where they feel the need to assert their heritage or stand out. And sometimes, changing your accent too much can trigger shame or disconnection from your community. So even if the mechanics of a new accent are learnable, the emotional wiring can hold people back. Accents, bias, and how we judge each other. Now let's flip the mic. Why do we notice others' accents so quickly? Because human brains are wired to scan for in-group versus out-group signals. An accent is one of the most immediate social cues. It tells us where someone might be from, what social class they belong to, what education level we assume they have, whether they're like us. This makes accents fertile ground for bias, both conscious and unconscious. We might perceive someone with a British accent as smarter, or someone with a rural one as less educated, even if that has no basis in reality. These snap judgments can impact job prospects, social opportunities, even legal outcomes in court. That's how powerful accent bias can be, and why losing an accent is sometimes about survival, not just fitting in. Can you ever truly lose an accent? Short answer: yes, but it's complicated. If you move young enough, or immerse yourself in a new language daily, you can adopt a local accent that's virtually indistinguishable. But most adults retain some traces of their original pronunciation, especially with certain vowel or rhythm patterns. That said, with intensive phonetic training, listening drills, and feedback, it is possible to reduce or even eliminate a foreign accent. Actors, diplomats, and spies have done it for centuries. But for the average person? It takes intention, time, and practice. Code switching, switching accents on demand. One fascinating side effect of living between worlds is code switching, the ability to shift your accent depending on who you're talking to. This isn't just mimicking. It's about adapting your speech style to match your environment. For example, speaking differently at work than at home. Adopting a more neutral accent in interviews. Slipping back into your hometown speech around old friends. Code switching is common among bilinguals, expats, and even regional dialect speakers. It shows how fluid and flexible identity really is. Final thoughts: why your accent matters. So, why are accents so hard to lose? Because they're not just about how you sound. They're about who you are. They're embedded in your childhood experiences, muscle memory, cultural identity, emotional wiring, social survival strategies. You can change your vocabulary. You can learn new grammar. But accents are stitched into your brain, your body, and your sense of self. And that's why they're so stubborn, and so powerful. But here's the twist. Your accent is not a flaw. It's a record of your story, where you've been, who raised you, and what shaped you. It may not always blend in, but it always belongs to you. And in a world obsessed with sounding normal, maybe keeping your voice exactly as it is the most authentic thing you can do. If this deep dive into language, identity, and the science of accents made you think differently about your own voice, or someone else's, go ahead and like, subscribe, and tap the bell icon so you never miss a future episode. Have you ever tried to change your accent, or been judged because of it? Drop your story in the comments. I read everyone. And remember, your voice is more than just sound. It's a map of where you've been, and a clue to who you are. Stay curious, stay kind, and I'll see you in the next one.